Hey, what is up, YouTube? Kolst here. So we are starting with all of the classes for the Murder at Castle Nathria review. The first one we are going to be talking about here is Demon Hunter. So you can check out a bunch of our other videos if you want to check out like neutral cards and all that stuff, but or all the other classes. But let's just get started with Demon Hunter. So I believe with Demon Hunter there are two different themes going into these cards here. One is basically based around discard, and the other one is going to be based around relics, and what those are we will talk about very soon. But first one we have here is actually neither of those themes, because this is Sinful Brand. This is a 1-mana epic spell. And also, by the way, we have Twitch chat here, as you guys have probably noticed with chickens running around and stuff like that. But brand an enemy minion. Whenever it takes damage, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. So basically, this doesn't actually have any board effects, right? It's just, ideally you would brand a minion that, I don't know if it's like a 5/5 or something, but they're going to, you could ping it a bunch of times if you have like a bunch of 1/1 rushes or something, and you could turn this into a 1-mana Pyroblast, which would be pretty awesome, right? But generally speaking, Arena is a bit more about board. You could run this into certain decks theoretically, but most of the time you probably just don't want this. This might be the most significant just as a discover option that occasionally you could just discover to finish off the game, but probably not a card you really want to be drafting all that much. So, but in a super aggro deck, maybe. Next one we have here is the first of these like discard cards. I said they're discards, but they're not exactly discards because they actually are shuffling. So this one is Dispose of Evidence. This is a 0-mana spell. Give your hero +3 attack this turn. Choose a card in your hand to shuffle into your deck. So it's like basically the reincarnation of Soulfire. It is a difference that it shuffles into your deck, so there are ways to draw a lot of cards in this set with Demon Hunter as well, but 0-mana deal 3 probably isn't worth losing a card most of the time, basically, is the short answer in Arena. So you probably don't want to pick this too much, just because you're not going to have enough consistency on the ways to refill your hand. Theoretically, you could have a nuts high roll deck that could actually make this stuff work, but it's very, very unlikely, so you probably don't want to be picking cards like this. But one of the cards that they did print in this set, which would theoretically make this card work, is the Magnifying Glaive. This is a 3-mana 2/2 weapon. After hero attacks, draw until you have 3 cards. So this is where, like, you know, there's going to be a super hyper aggro Demon Hunter that's built around this whole package, right? But you're just not going to have huge consistency. It's worth saying though, this is a common, so if you get 2 of these, like, you might be able to try to make it work, because you might get like 2 or 3 of these, and then suddenly you could theoretically, but I wouldn't draft, you know, expecting to make this whole package work. But overall, I mean, this is a 3-mana 2/2 weapon, which is not that bad. You know, you have the lifesteal weapon as well, but like also if you can actually get just a couple draws off of this, it's very, very worth it. So, you know, you will probably draft this a lot. But having said that, I mean, if you're drafting like a normal Demon Hunter, if you have a normal curve and you have other ways to draw cards and stuff, this isn't that good. But, you know, this is a card that is worth, especially if you get it early, trying to draft at least a bit around. Although I still wouldn't recommend going like super crazy on the discard stuff, but it's overall going to be a very good card. Next one we have here is Kryxis? I didn't even pronounce that. Kryxis the Voracious. 4-mana 7/7 poggers. Battle Cry, discard your hand, death rattle, draw 3 cards. So there are some ways that you could theoretically, if you have like the 3-drop that pulls out a 4-drop death rattle, you could cheat this out, and then you just get like a free 7/7 that draws you 3 cards, which means you basically automatically win, right? But a lot of times, you know, it may not necessarily be worth even playing this on curve, because, you know, sure, you get to like, maybe you discard 3 cards and then you draw 3 cards, but this thing might not die immediately, and then you don't get that card draw, which means you might just skip your entire turn 5, and getting a 4-mana 7/7 is cool and all, but it's not worth missing an entire turn, right? So this will be a little bit awkward sometimes, especially on curve, but also, I mean, it's one of the best top decks you could ever have, because you can just play it if your hand's already empty or close to empty, then you just play this on turn 9, and then if it ever dies, which it probably has to die because your opponent can't just leave a 7/7 up, then you can get the 3 card draws, and then that'll put you in a good position, right? So it's like going to be kind of hit or miss and situational, but it'll have its moments, but probably not a super high draft card, I don't think. But it can be very good. There are better legendaries though, I think. But yeah, it will be one of those things that has its moments. Next one we have here is Bibliomite. This is a 2-mana 4/4 battle cry. Choose a card in your hand to shuffle into your deck. So again, this is like another one of those where it's basically the reincarnation of Succubus, right? Succubus was a 2-mana 4/3 that discarded a random card in your hand. This is significantly better than Succubus, and it's worth saying that Succubus wasn't even that bad. A lot of people picked it. They were all getting baited out of their minds because they should have never been picking a 2-mana 4/3 to discard when 2-mana 3/2s were super meta at the time, so it was not anywhere good. But you know, the thing is that the reason that was like even remotely pickable is because you had life tap, right? So like a 2-mana 4/4 is cool and all, but it's again probably just not worth, you know, the downside of losing a card. You do get to choose the card again, so it's like it's not as bad. So like this is not like I don't think this is unpickable, but it's probably not what you want. You only would really want it in like super aggro basically. But yeah, I wouldn't really recommend going for that. Next one we have here, so now we're going into all the relic stuff. So let's go over all the relic cards individually because they're kind of a package that you're supposed to theoretically go for. So this is the common relic. This is Relic of Extinction, 2-mana, common spell. Deal 1 damage to a random enemy minion twice. Improve your future relics. So all the relics interact with each other, and so the more relics you cast, these upgrade. So I believe that this upgrade's just based off of damage, so it would theoretically upgrade to 2 damage, 3 damage, 4 damage, etc. But yeah, 2-mana deal 1 to a random enemy minion twice is pretty bad. It's pretty darn bad. If you get to, it does get a lot better if you upgrade it even once. Upgrading it once even is pretty good. It only hits minions, which is probably good. But I don't know. I don't think the relics are going to be things you really want to go for. It's different minions. It says random minion twice. It doesn't specify that it. Yeah, it can be different minions, but it can also be the same minion. But yeah, I don't think the relics are really worth going for, partially because the other relics are higher rarity. Because going to the next one here, this is Relic of Dimensions. We'll actually talk about the other one first. The second one is the rare relic, which is Relic of Phantasms. This is a 3-mana, summon 2 1/1 secrets. Improve your future relics. So again, if you upgrade this once, it becomes like kind of decent, but in its base level, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. 3-mana summon 2 1/1s is garbage, right? Really bad. So again, it's like could be theoretically good if you get a relic build, but you're usually probably not going to go for it. And the third one is Relic of Dimensions. 5-mana, draw 2 cards and reduce their cost by 1, improve your future relics. So it's kind of like, this is kind of like a new Skull of Gul'dan, kind of. But like, yeah, in its base level, I guess it's still kind of like Arcane Intellect if you look at it that way, right? It's one of those things where, like, I mean, if you start with this, like if you get this early on in your draft, that would be a reason to actually go for relics, right? So if you get some of the, especially the higher rarity relics, you might go for it, but you know, the upgrading here is the cost reduction. So you could theoretically draw 2 cards and reduce their cost by like 4 or 5 or something, right? The upside is there, but it's just going to be very hard to pull off. The other 2 cards are the cards that are really the reasons to run relics, because the first one is the location card. This is actually the first location card we have talked about because we have not looked at any of the classes yet. So this one's Relic Felt. The next relic you play this turn casts twice. So and I believe that upgrades twice too, right? This would be like a thing, but obviously the issue is that you only have these 3 relic cards, and if you don't get any of them, this does literally nothing. So this is a problem with, you know, trying to go for this whole strategy, right? You can just completely whiff And yeah, the last one is the legendary card, which is Artificer Xy'mox, which is an 8-mana 8/8 Battlecry. Discover and cast a relic. With Infuse +5, cast all 3 instead. Again, it's like you would have to already basically have all the relics and stuff, but you're just not going to have consistency of this whole strategy. Basically, the whole package is, if it just somehow magically happens, you could go for it, but in Arena, it's not going to be remotely consistent. You're just not going to want to go for this whole thing. This one, it's worth saying though, like, I mean, this one's actually not bad because it's an 8-mana 8/8 that casts a relic, which does something, right? You get to choose. So you're probably going to choose the Relic of Dimensions always, right? Or you get to cast all 3. Like, either way, like, this is a good card. This is a good standalone card, even if you have nothing for it. So this would be the one that you might actually just pick anyway. If you get this, like, pick one, then go for it, right? But do they cast and improve in order? I imagine it just goes, I don't know if it's random, actually. I don't know if the order is random or not. But yeah, like, this card you might actually pick, even if you just have nothing else. That would be the one. But the other ones you wouldn't necessarily want to go for. So that's pretty much all of it. And that is it for Demon Hunter. So we're going to move on pretty quickly through these classes, but we'll say goodbye to YouTube. Bye-bye, YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, all of these things. But yeah. Demon Hunter, probably one of the weaker classes based off of these cards. They're 2 synergies that are not going to work very consistently. So Demon Hunter is going to suffer probably in Arena from a result of this expansion. There are other classes that are getting very, very good packages, but Demon Hunter is going to feel kind of painful. But yeah, that's it for this one. See you guys in the next one.